What is going on, guys? Welcome back to CpyNews, and we have some more news stories today. So let's get into them, shall we? And we're starting off with one from Unity again. Now, this one is kind of disturbing, and I was a little bit shocked to read this one because it seems very, very dodgy to me. Unity bosses sold stock ahead of Scummy dev fees announcement. So, yes, you heard that right. They sold stocks before they announced that they were changing the development fees. So, we're not going to talk about the fees because we've already talked about that. What we're going to talk about is that according to Guru Focus, Unity CEO John Ricciello, one of the highest paid bosses in gaming, sold 2,000 Unity shares on September 6th, a week prior to its September 12th announcement. Guru Focus notes that this follows a trend reporting that Ricciello has sold a total of 50,610 shares this year and purchased none. Ricciello isn't the only executive at Unity to sell a bunch of stock this week. For the company's runtime fee announcement, according to Unity's market activity on the Nasdaq, several other Unity board members sold significant numbers of shares leading up to its plan, pricing and packages update. Chief among them being Tomer Bar-Zeev, Unity's president of growth, who sold 37,500 shares on September 1st for roughly $1.4 million, and the board director, Shlomo Dovrat, who sold 68,454 shares on August 30th for around $2.5 million. Apparently, the last time the Unity CEO's name was in the news, Kotaku nicely puts this in, is when he called people effing idiots because they didn't want to use Unity's ad technology. It's amazing, isn't it, that people wouldn't want to stick random ads in their games, right? But I was looking into this and I am not sure for certain. You know, I'm not a legal expert or anything, but isn't this insider trading? Because I read this multiple times. I was sat there and thought, isn't this insider trading? They sold off their own stocks before delivering what they knew was going to be unpopular and hurt the share price, right? So rather than taking that hit themselves, they sold their stocks off prior to making this announcement. And this says, illegal insider trading refers generally to buying or selling a security in breach of a fiduciary duty or other responsibility of trust and confidence on the basis of material non-public information about the security. Insider trading violations may also include tipping, blah, blah, blah. You know, it doesn't have to include the tipping, but it also may include tipping. But these people have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders, right? But they sold their stocks before making this information known, right? And I think there could be an argument made that they profited off this while deliberately hurting the company by making a decision that they knew would tank their share price, right? I feel it could be fair to say that they would know that such a move to take revenue away from indie publishers and distributors for additional money that could potentially put those people and companies in danger would not only be an unpopular move with those companies in general, but would be an unpopular move with would also be an unpopular move with consumers, right? But that's not all that's going on with Unity. There is more going on with Unity. Unity is going to quietly waive controversial fees if developers switch to its ad monetization service. They just want to kill app loving. I don't know what that means. So a fresh report into Unity's hugely controversial decision to start charging developers when their games are downloaded, blah, blah, blah. Mobile gamer sources say Unity has already offered some studios a 100% fee waiver if they switch over to Unity's own Level Play ad platform. The report quotes industry consultants that say this move is an attempt to destroy Unity's main competitor in the field, AppLovin. I don't know what that is. The Level Play suite of tools allows you to control every aspect of your monetization strategy via in-game ads in Unity games for smartphones with various types of ads and ad testing and analytics available to serve, blah, blah, blah. This puts the whole runtime fee announcement in the mediation war spotlight. Consultant Matej Lankerik said, Unity is saying migrate to Level Play or you will need to pay a crap ton of money. For those small developers, there is no option but to migrate to Level Play mediation to save their companies. The rest are already thinking about other game development engines, Godot and Caucus, blah blah blah. And if that's just disgusting in itself, right? This is disgusting. The lengths that Unity is going to in order to profit off of what's happening, right? I think everyone can agree that this is disgusting. And it gets worse for Unity as well, because that's not the end of it. Apparently, Unity has been suffering from credible threats to people. And whilst I don't condone this, I am not surprised. Given everything that's came out about this, and what I've just said about the legalities of selling your stock off, and board members selling their stock off prior to this announcement seems very, very fishy. Because this was non-public information, and it seems very, very suspect that people with significant shares in this knew about this. Obviously, the CEO would know, right? Because they're in charge of the company. But other people as well? I don't know. I feel like a very select few profited off this, right? But apparently there's been threats made by an employee somewhere. I'm not going to read through the article because the article doesn't really say much. Just that they shut down offices across the US because of threat. But at the bottom there is an update that gives more information. So update, San Francisco police told Polygon that officers responded to Unity San Francisco office regarding a threats incident. A reporting party told police that an employee made a threat towards his employer using social media. The employee that made the threat works in the office outside of California, according to the police statement. Here's full statement provided by San Francisco Public Information Officer Catherine Winters on September 14, 2023 at approximately 09:30 a.m. San Francisco police officers assigned to Central Station responded to the unit block of 3rd Street regarding a threats incident. When officers arrived on scene, they met with a reporting party who informed them of the threat. The reporting party also said that the employee works at an out-of-state location for the company, but that they had been unable to reach the outside jurisdiction to make a report. The reporting party was advised to contact the jurisdiction in which the incident occurred, and officers took a courtesy report. So I don't think there's going to be any more information. I haven't found any more information about this, but things not looking good for Unity overall in general, and it is rather disgusting and scummy that the way they're doing things right now. And I think we can all agree on that one, that the way that Unity is going about stuff is not right. And I think there should be serious questions. And I think the FCC should be really looking into this, because the CEO and board members have a fiduciary duty, right? And it seems like they have profited off this quite well, whilst the company's other shareholders have not done so well. And they actively made changes the fact that they sold the shares prior to making this announcement shows that they made changes that they knew was going to damage the stock price. And I think there's grounds for shareholders here to possibly sue. I'm not, as again I said, I'm not a legal expert, but if I was shareholders who had significant investments in Unity and I just lost a lot of money, I would be considering to sue Unity in a class action lawsuit, because I feel like they neglected their duties, fiduciary rights, right? Alrighty, our next story comes from Rock Paper Shotgun, and it's a sad but it's an unfortunate one, but it's also a very heartwarming one as well, because I really, really like the way that this author has gone about doing this. Fables creator places Wolf Among Us universe in public domain amid a clash with DC over Telltale adaptation. The US author and artist Bill Willingham has rather drastically announced that he is placing the Fables comic book property in the public domain, including all Fables spin-offs and characters. This means that pending a judgment from third-party legal experts, anyone can now create art of any kind set in the Fables universe. What was once wholly owned by Bill Willingham is now owned by everyone for all time, the author wrote on his Substack. It's done, and as most experts will tell you, once done, it cannot be undone. Takebacks are neither contemplated nor possible. In an extended account, Willingham discusses various conflicts that arose during his 20 years of working with DC Comics. Some of these were small matters like neglecting to ask his opinion on artists for new stories, and late reporting or underreporting of royalty payments to Willingham, which, if that's true, that is very scummy from DC. In recent years, the author feels that DC Comics has been trying to strong-arm the ownership of Fables from him, describing how, in his view, legal negotiators have attempted to subtly recast Fables as DC's own property during contract discussions for new comic book issues to mark the setting's 20th anniversary. Most recently, during talks to try and work out many differences, DC officers admitted that their interpretation of our publishing agreement and the following media rights agreement is that they could do whatever they wanted with the property he writes. They could change stories or characters in any way they wanted. They had no obligation whatsoever to protect the integrity and value of the IP, either from themselves or third parties, Telltale Games for instance, who want to radically alter the characters, settings, history, and premises of the story. I've seen the script they tried to hide from me for a couple of years. Nor did they owe me any money for licensing the Fables rights to third parties, since such a license wasn't anticipated in our original publishing agreement. According to Willingham, DC's negotiators eventually agreed to pay him monies owed for licensing Fables to Telltale, but later reneged on their word by offering the outstanding sum as a consulting fee, and thus avoiding the precedent of admitting this was money owed, while including a non-disclosure agreement that would prevent me from saying anything but nice things about Telltale or their license. Willingham says he can't afford to sue DC over their disagreements, and in any case, even winning such a suit would take ridiculous amounts of money out of my pocket and years out of my life. I'm 67 years old, and I don't have the years to spare. Instead, he's decided to take a different approach and fight them in a different arena, inspired by the principles of asymmetric warfare. The one thing in our contract that DC lawyers can't contest or reinterpret to their own benefit is that I am the sole owner of the intellectual property. I can sell it or give it away to whomever I want. I chose to give it away to everyone. If I can prevent Fables from falling into bad hands, at least this way I can arrange that it also falls into many good hands, since I truly believe that there's still more good people in the world than bad ones. I count it as a form of victory. The decision also reflects the radical transformation of Willingham's stance on trademark and copyright law in the US in recent years. The current laws are a mismatch of unethical backroom deals to keep trademarks and copyrights in the hands of large corporations who can largely afford to buy the outcomes they want, he writes. In my template for radical reform of those laws, I would like it if any IP is owned by its original creator for up to 20 years from the point of first publication and then goes into the public domain for any and all to use. However, at any time before that 20-year span bleeds out, you, the IP owner, can sell it to another person or corporate entity who can have exclusive use for it for up to a maximum of 10 years. That's it. Then it cannot be resold. It goes into public domain. So then at the most, any intellectual property can be kept exclusive for use for up to about 30 years and no longer without exemption. Of course, I'm going to believe such radical ideas. What kind of hypocrite would I be if I didn't practice them? The post goes on. Fables has been my baby for about 20 years now. It's time to let it go. This is my first test of this process. If it works, and I see no legal reason why it won't, look for other properties to follow in future. Since DC or any other corporate entity doesn't actually own the property, they don't get a say in this decision. And he says that he's given them years to do the right thing, including offering to renegotiate contracts from the ground up, putting everything in unambiguous language, or failing that, to simply tear up our contracts and we could each go our separate ways, but it's been ignored. His contracts will remain enforced, meaning he can't publish Fable comics, authorize any adaptations such as movie, or license merchandise through anyone but DC Comics, and they still have to pay me for books they publish, and I'm not giving up on the other money that I owe. One way or another, I intend to get 50% of my money that they've owed me for years, or the Telltale game and other things. And he goes on to say, however you, the new 100% owner of Fables, never signed such agreements, the post concludes. For better or worse, DC and I are still locked together in this unhappy marriage, perhaps for all time, but you aren't. If I understand the law correctly, and be advised that copyright law is a mess, purposely vague and murky, and no two lawyers, not even those specialising in copyright and trademark law, agree on everything, You have the rights to make your Fable movies and cartoons and publish your Fable books and manufacture your Fable toys and do anything you want with your property because it's yours property. And all I can say at this one is just wow. Wow. It was actually hard to read it. Got me a bit froggy in the throat through that because you can see the passion and dedication this guy has to the things that he's created, right? And if what he's done is a wonderful thing to put in the public domain and gives Fables a future as long as and as bright as people care to create with the universe that is inspired, right? So I wish Fables all the best, and I will be interested to see what people do. And I think one thing is that has to be said is this is a person that has convictions and knows what they want, and you can tell that there's incredible passion there. And I agree with him on the copyright law and how things should be put into public domain sooner. And I feel like his actions are a great gift to many people, and I appreciate them and hope others follow in his footsteps and don't let corporations try to take everything and own everything and allow others to create from their creations. I think there's a lot of people who can add value to Fables universe and love and respect Fables universe to a point where we cannot imagine what they will create. Moving on to our final story of the day. And this wouldn't be a news story if we didn't have a story covering Sony, right? Oh, and Square Enix. Second day in a row and we're talking about Square Enix. And we're talking about Sony anti-consumer practices again. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth exclusive to PS5 for at least 3 months. And then PC and maybe it might come to Xbox. Like, it's going to be exclusive to PS5 and for the first 3 months. That's disgusting. I don't like it. So Sony's still doing this stuff and it's rubbish. It's rubbish. It's nonsense. It needs to stop. I'm sick of anti-consumer practices, and Sony's already been sued in the UK for anti-consumer practices. And stuff like this isn't helping. It doesn't help the games industry to have a game locked to a platform for months. And then there's going to be people who say Xbox has exclusive games. All Xbox first-party games release on PC at launch. They're on 2 platforms at launch. And the way the things are going is if Xbox Games Pass and other Xbox games can be added to other platforms that want them, they're going to be everywhere. You can also play Xbox games on mobile as well. So that technically counts as another platform, if you want to think about it that way. But yeah, this is disgusting me. I don't think there's much more to say about it except screw Square Enix and Sony for making this decision and keeping Final Fantasy VII off of the platforms at launch when it could have been multi-platform from the start and more consumers could have enjoyed it. Anyways guys, like, comment, share and subscribe. Let me know down below what you think about all of today's stories, especially the Fable story. I feel like that was such an emotional roller coaster and such a heartfelt, statement about the situation and the reasons and decisions for his actions. I feel like it was the right decision, and it was a very, very emotional one for the author, and a very, very caring one for the people who he knows are fans of his work. But anyways guys, see you in the next one. Peace out guys. Thank you for watching.